Hello, and welcome to Trend Watch by CompTIA Research, where you get a little bit of this and a little bit of that in today's market data. Today's topic, basic business acumen in the channel. Sounds real simple, right? But it's often a topic that we do not talk about. It gets sort of at the bottom of the pile of things that we talk about at events with our peers, etc., about the channel. We often spend a lot of time on technology, which is why many of you got into business in the first place. We talk about sales and customer wins. We talk about marketing and how we'd like to get better at it. But a lot of times, some of those basic business skills, whether that's finance, accounting, human resources, legal, cash flow and cost containment, all of the things that every other type of business, not just channel companies, have to focus on, that gets sort of left to the side. And the interesting thing is a lot of the entrepreneurs who open small businesses, which is the majority of the channel, get into it because of their zeal for technology and their expertise in technology. So they're good at that stuff. And they often learn on the job some of these business skills. Oh, okay, I got to have a business plan. Okay, I need to learn how to do payroll every week. I need to figure out how to do some forecasting about what kind of money I'm going to need on a monthly basis. A lot of that is done on the job. So most of the entrepreneurs in the channel come in as tech experts and kind of learn how to be business people while they're in the trenches. And that can be an issue sometimes. So one of the things we decided to do with State of the Channel, our study that we do annually this year, was get a pulse check on how well channel firms, the respondents to the study, feel like they do when it comes to basic business skills and acumen. So we asked them a very basic question, kind of a self-rating question. How do you feel your expertise is in those basic business skills? Like I said, accounting, finance, HR, payroll, some analytics around finance, legal issues, taxes, those sorts of things. 60% of our respondents said they need improvement or they are flat out beginners. That's a pretty high percentage of folks who say we need help. They're basically saying we're not that good at what we're doing here. 38% deem themselves experts, which between you and me here, I think is a little bit high. A lot of small businesses are not experts in some of these areas, but let's call it aspirational. That's good. One data point that bears out the reason that there are some experts is we asked companies whether they were in better shape 2 years ago or today. And the companies that said they were in better shape today than they were 2 years ago tended to be ones that also said that they were experts in some of these business skills areas. 45% of that group said they were experts in business skills, whereas only 27% of the folks who said they're not better off today than they were 2 years ago said they're also experts in business skills. So the people who feel like they're better off today are doing something right in these baseline areas of how to run your business. What they're doing, I don't know. They're getting extracurricular help. They knew how to do business when they got it started, or they have, been learning on the job and taking advantage of some of the resources that are out there that help you get better at this part of your business. So we asked naturally, for those of you who do need help out there, who feel like you're kind of middling or you are true beginners at some of this business stuff, what do you need help at? What are some of your biggest areas or pain points that you're seeing? The number one thing was financial forecasting. People feel like they're a little off there. They do not know how to look out over maybe a year ahead and think about cash flow, think about what their monthly recurring revenue might be coming in from customers and how to factor that in to the cost of goods sold, to what their payroll is going to be, what all their expenses might be. So getting a handle on that basic financial forecasting is a big deal. Budgeting, that goes hand in hand with forecasting, really, but that seems very basic. But knowing how to do a good, firm budget and stick with it within the parameters of it is something that a lot of the companies told us they need help with. Financial analytics is another one. And that's getting a little bit more sophisticated with taking your financial information that you have and then spinning it out into what does this mean? Where are we weak? Where are we strong? Where could we, do better in this customer segment? It's doing and applying those kinds of analytics that will really help you. And AI, as it becomes more important to some of these companies, will be a tool that can be applied to some of the analytics areas that companies are needing to shore up. Other areas that help is needed is cost containment. A lot of companies think only about growing revenue and they don't think about all of the efficiencies and that they can gain within their company by controlling costs, being really good about their spending. That actually boosts boost profitability. So if you're not, spending a ton to make a ton, but actually you're controlling your costs and driving revenue at the same time, you're going to have much higher profitability. So understanding what your costs are is important, and a lot of companies need help with that. And then finally, cash flow. A lot of small businesses found out real quick during the pandemic that they did not have adequate cash flow in their stores. And so when they needed to kind of run and change their business dramatically overnight, because everybody went to remote work, and it just really shut down the economy in so many ways. If you were sitting on a good lump of lump in your bank account of cash flow, of emergency funds, you did better than companies that were really skating along and not either knowing how much cash they had on hand or didn't really plan for that rainy day. Big learning experience toward the pandemic. And I know now that is why a lot of companies are raising their hand going, we weren't too good at that and we need some help. So where are they looking for help? Interestingly, the number one place that companies look for the basic business skills help is from industry associations. They're looking for training, which CompTIA actually provides, which is fantastic, especially to the channel. We provide MSPs with basic business training, and they're looking to get certifications. So the more certifications that are out there that are a lot, not just for technical acumen, but for business skill acumen, they will take advantage of those. Other avenues that they pursue are P2P networking. So folks go to events to talk to their peers and say, how are you doing things? How are you managing to run a company when you were really mostly skilled at doing cybersecurity as a technical skill, but now you've got employees working for you, you have financial things to think about, how to account for cash flow, et cetera, all the things that I've been talking about here. How do you do it? It's good word of mouth to talk to your peers. And then one of the third things that they're using, among more, there that you could see within our State of the Channel full report, is vendor-based training. And that can be hit or miss. Vendors are very geared toward training their channel partners on their own technology and giving them sales assistance to make sure that they are selling the vendor's technology. And they're very good at that sort of training and resource provision. Where many of them aren't helping out as much is with basic business skills. And you could argue both sides of the coin. Is that a vendor's responsibility? Or is that something that channel partners should be pursuing on their own? They can get this kind of business education from community colleges, from other sorts of coursework that they can do outside of the vendor environment. But for vendors who really have the resources and really want to help their channel companies get up to speed on some of these things, this is a good area to spend some of that partner program money that you've got. One main reason that it is so important to get skilled up in business acumen is all of the M&A activity that's been going on in the channel. We've well documented this. Lots of mergers and acquisitions are happening, and the majority of it are older owners of smaller channel businesses that are trying to sell. They need an exit strategy. They're trying to retire. What's really critical is that they have their company in the best health possible to make it an appealing target to sell. So that means having good financials. When a potential buyer comes in and wants to look at your books, they look good. Your company is cash positive. It is generating revenue. It is profitable. The earlier you start working on those business fundamentals and get a very healthy company going, the easier and more profitable it will be when you finally deem to sell it down the road. So it's a good part of your exit strategy to have a healthy company based on good business fundamentals in the first place. So for more on that, please turn to the full report, the State of the Channel 2024, which you can find on CompTIA's website. And thank you very much.